Hi everybody, Rich is talking. This is Richard Cole. Welcome back. Sorry I'm a little late getting this out, but I'll be frank with you. I was bummed out with the decision to find a former president of the United States guilty of criminal charges. It'd be one thing if he committed murder or did some real horrendous thing. What he was accused of were always misdemeanors. But let me tell you what it was. He paid Stormy Daniels, a porn star, hush money so she'd keep quiet. They say it's because he was running for president. You know, you could go either way. You could say he did that to quiet her from saying anything so his wife wouldn't find out. They couldn't prove either way. But they just went the way that Alvin Bragg said, that he did it to, first he paid the money, then he falsified business records, and then he did that to affect the campaign, which would be violating campaign laws. All of this is not true, but they don't care. They did it anyway, and a jury can do whatever they want. A jury could find someone guilty when they're not guilty and find them innocent when they're not innocent. That's our system. So he went to trial, Trump did, with against 12 of his peers as jurists, which weren't his peers. They were all Democrats. Trump is a Republican. Alvin Bragg is a Democrat. That's the DA. The mayor of the town is a Democrat. The attorney general of the state is a Democrat. The governor of the state is a Democrat. 90% of the people in the city of New York are Democrats. So this was not a jury of his peers at all. Trump was the only Republican in the group. So they found him guilty. Makes us look like a third world country. It's just ridiculous what they did. 34 counts. So just so you know, each count was the same thing. It was falsifying business records. And John Edwards, who was running as vice president some years ago with Kerry, was found not guilty for the same thing. They said it actually didn't falsify, or it didn't violate campaign laws. So this is what we've got. They went after him horribly. They've been after him all over the place. New York, Georgia, New York twice, then Washington, going after him for the confidential records that he kept, even though Biden did the same thing, had no right to having them. Trump sort of did have a right to have them since he was president. Only presidents have the right to have these papers. And so it's a campaign by the Biden administration to knock out their opponent. And it's not working. As a result of this conviction, Trump has raised more money in 1 month than anyone has ever done. It's catching up to Biden, and it continues. The polls are showing him stronger than ever because the American people do not like what they are doing. You know, back when Trump was running for president in 2016 against Hillary, remember he said you'd be in jail. People would yell, "Lock her up, lock her up, lock her up." Then, after it was over and he won, what did he say?
We begin with breaking news. A source with direct knowledge of Donald Trump's thinking tells Morning Joe that in his administration, the president-elect will not pursue any investigations into Hillary Clinton for her use of a private email server and the Clinton Foundation. The source tells Morning Joe that Trump feels Clinton has, quote, been through enough. This development comes after he said this in an interview with 60 Minutes 10 days ago.
I'm going to think about it. She did some bad things. I mean, she did some bad things.
A special prosecutor?
I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt them. They're good people. I don't want to hurt them.
So you see, Trump had an opportunity to do it, but he decided it's not the right thing to go after someone who is running for the presidency, to go after her, and she was the wife of a former president. He got that all into his head. He said it's not the right thing to do. Did you see the look on Leslie Stahl's face? Like, a special prosecutor? How could you do that for someone of her stature? How could you do that? Yeah, we'll ask her today what she thinks about special prosecutors going after Trump. I'm sure she's fine with it. But let's find out a little bit more about this case in New York. This is Dan Abrams, who actually I like pretty much. He's on News Nation. And Megyn Kelly, who I very much like. She's very, very smart. And I still say has the best podcast out there. Let's hear a little bit about a discussion they had.
I think to some degree, which is that there's wrongdoing here, right? There was definitely wrongdoing. Whether it should have been a crime
What
is
was
a
it?
separate. What's the wrongdoing?
What was the wrongdoing?
What's the wrongdoing? All right, number
Yeah.
one, it's paying $130,000 to a porn star to keep her quiet. That's to try to protect your
that's not
campaign.
illegal.
Can we at least agree that's wrong?
That's not illegal. It's not
I didn't say
illegal.
it was. No. I just said moral versus
How is it
legal.
wrong? Are we talking moral?
I made it clear. I'm making it clear. For a minute, I'm talking about morality versus legality, right? There's no doubt that he engaged in.
All right, I'll tell. Here's my response to that, and I said
right.
this on my show the other day. I don't know what kind of weird marriage these two have. Same as I didn't know what kind of weird marriage Bill and Hillary Clinton had. So I don't know what their covenant is in terms of what he's allowed to do on the outside of his marriage.
But again, I don't mind the
For me,
sex,
it
but
would
when
be
you're
a serious
paying
problem.
but I'm not talking about the sex. I'm talking about the $130,000 to keep her quiet to protect his campaign.
Immoral. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing.
Really? Okay. Look, again,
if somebody runs for office, they just lose the right to have any privacy. They just have to let us see all of their dirty laundry from the moment they declare forward, or somehow they've done something morally wrong or legally wrong.
When you're doing it to protect the campaign and you are spending money on it, then now I'm going to switch back to the legal. You are now crossing the line into legal
you're not.
problems, right?
You aren't. That's absolutely not right. Incorrect at every level.
Again, the idea that let me back up. And you don't think he falsified business records either?
I don't know what he did. I don't think he wrote down.
What does that mean? We just had a whole
foreign payment to
trial.
Stormy
We heard
Daniels.
every detail of this. How can you not know?
Let me answer.
Please.
Let me answer. I don't think he wrote down hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. Nobody who pays hush money would write down such a thing. I think he wrote down, or someone at the Trump Organization wrote down, legal expenses from the drop-down Adobe menu. And that made as much sense as anything else because hush money wasn't an option. He was paying his lawyer who had made the payment to Stormy Daniels, and he was, I believe, reimbursing her, though he denied that, reimbursing him, though he denied that on the stand. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. I think you pay your lawyer money because he outlaid money for you. You could easily classify that as a legal expense.
No matter what it's for, right? Even if it's illegal conduct, you can just put it, it's a legal expense, right?
This wasn't illegal. There's nothing illegal about paying hush money for an NDA. It's done
There's not.
all the
but when
time.
you're doing it to protect your campaign, it is. That's the difference.
No. What law are you citing, Dan?
Campaign finance laws. You're not allowed to give the...
You don't know what you're talking
What
about.
are you talking?
You're wrong.
Explain to me.
Let me explain it to you.
Tell me what I'm getting wrong. Tell me what I'm getting wrong. When you're spending $130,000,
I'll explain.
Go ahead.
I get it, because you're saying that there are limits to the campaign contribution somebody could make, and this has exceeded them, and then they hit it. I understand. That's his theory. However, this has been wrong from the start.
Yeah.
It does not amount to a campaign contribution if it is the kind of payment that could ever be made outside of the campaign context.
That's not the standard. The standard is substantiality. It's not. It's substantiality.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
You're wrong.
Okay.
No, it's not.
I guess we're going to have to agree to
There's been Supreme Court precedent on this. Talk to Brad Smith, who was the FEC commissioner.
That the standard is substantiality. All right.
Well, that was pretty interesting. I like both of them. I think that Megyn is correct on this. Dan Abrams did come out with a retort, which I'll examine in the next podcast. We'll go through that. He's proving that he was right and she was wrong. But after listening to what he said, I'm still with her. But to be fair to him, we'll examine this a little bit more next time. Now, where are we? I'm at wit's end with all the stuff that Biden has going on that's just really bugging me. One of the big things is our border crisis and all of the people that are coming through. It started right from the beginning when Biden took over, reversed everything Trump was doing, which he had it pretty well under control, and he was trying to do more. He had it if people were seeking asylum, they had to stay in Mexico while the request was processed in this country before they could come over. Biden reversed that, just took that away totally. So then he appointed Kamala Harris to head up the border crisis. Here she is in an interview early on in the administration, talking with Lester Holt about what she's doing at the border.
There's not going to be a quick fix. So we've seen progress, but the real work is going to take time to manifest itself. Will it be worth it? Yes. Will it take some time? Yes.
There's one other topic I wanted to talk to you about, but let me just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, can you believe that Dodo is our vice president? She was assigned to take over the responsibility for the border crisis and said, I don't think I will. Maybe I'll take a nice trip down to Guatemala, have some fun down there, do a couple interviews so I look smart, which she doesn't. And that's how she's going to handle the border crisis. In the meantime, it's increasing and increasing, people coming over. I will talk a bit about what Biden's doing. He says he's doing. Let's listen to Ted Cruz for a minute.
It would normalize 5,000 illegal immigrants a day, which works out to about 1.8 million illegal immigrants a year, or over the 3 years of Joe Biden, nearly 6 million illegal immigrants. That is a disastrous outcome. It also would give work permits to illegal immigrants. It would provide taxpayer-funded attorneys to illegal immigrants. And I'll tell you one provision that as a Texan I find deeply troubling. It goes out of the way to hurt the state of Texas by saying all litigation challenging what the administration is doing has to be filed in district court in the District of Columbia.
Yeah.
Texas can't sue in federal courts in Texas. They got to come to a very liberal D.C. court. It's a bad bill, which is why it's not going to pass.
What Ted is getting at here, Senator Ted Cruz, I don't know. Shouldn't call him Ted, I guess, although I call Biden Joe. Anyway, Biden has now come out with the way he's going to handle this border crisis. And he's going to allow, let me just look at my notes here. He set a threshold very low, average of 2,500 migrants each day. And then they would suspend people coming in. 2,500. Back when Obama was president, he said anything over 1,000 crossing the border is a crisis. Now Biden's setting it at 2,500. Just think about that. 2,500, 10 days, that's 25,000. 30 days, that's 75,000. That's bigger than a lot of towns in this country. They just don't get it. The threshold should be 0. That's where they should be, 0, so that we only have legal immigrants coming in. There should be no illegal immigrants. Now, I would agree that if people from Mexico want to come over and work, we figure out how to do work visas for them, but they have to be approved and vetted in some way. But what's going on here is just ludicrous. Then the final thing that's bugging me right now, it still is bugging me, is this student debt that they gave away money by forgiving debt. That's the same as giving away money. They used our money to pay the debt for these brats that will come out and vote liberal anyway. Those people come out of college, come from liberal colleges, and they're the ones that have the debt. And Biden is dumb enough to think that's going to create more votes for him, and it's not really. But he's pissed off a lot of people. A lot of people who may have voted for him out through the middle of the country are really upset about it. A couple of comments on that here by Kevin O'Leary of the Shark Tank series. Listen to him.
Becky, I'm trying to find merit in this proposed policy, and I can't. This is policy born in hell, and I'll tell you why. Nobody wins. What do you say to people for generations now that have realized, like everybody does, that education is not a right, it's a privilege? You make a decision as a young adult to pursue an education for a wide range of reasons, including advancing yourself in your career and your salary, et cetera, and that's proven to work. But you take on responsibilities, including student debt. So what do you tell people generations past that have actually paid back their debt? How about the people that are working so hard to get scholarships to excel? What do you tell them? Don't bother, it's free. How about the people that never had the opportunity to go to college? About 12% of the population has student debt. The other 88% have to pay for them?
Yeah, that's right, Kevin. What about the taxi drivers, the farmers, electricians, all these service people out there working their tails off? Now they have to pay for these brats coming out of college because they don't understand when you have debt, you're supposed to pay it off. So those people who got the student debt relief, what are they going to do now? They're going to go out after they get a job, they're going to buy a house, get a mortgage, and say, you know, I'm going to buy a couple more iPhones and I'll skip the mortgage payment this month because, you know, eventually somebody takes care of it. They don't learn your responsibility. So that's just irritates the hell out of me. Final little thing, the WNBA, which I've become very much interested in ever since Caitlin Clark became so popular. Very, very good basketball player. She's become a pro, joined the Indiana Fever. Yes, they haven't been doing well, and yes, she isn't scoring as much, but you know the way it works. When there's a draft in professional sports, the worst team gets to choose the best player. So Caitlin Clark went to the worst team. And when you watch them, they're not very good. They're trying, but they're not good. That has to have an effect on her. Before, she had a pretty good team in Iowa. Now she doesn't. So the hope there is that the owner of that team will start doing some trades and get some better players in with her. But anyway, why do I bring this up? The commission, the Olympic Commission, has decided not to have her play in the Olympics representing this country. Instead, they want professionals. So they've chosen several, including, I can't even think of her name, the one that was stuck in Russia, and they had to, Griner, is that her name? They had to do all kinds of things to get her out, which is another thing. We have a Marine over there. It's been held longer than she was, and Biden did all he could to get the basketball player out and ignored the Marine. So that's how he handles these hostage situations. Whichever one might get him more votes, that's who he goes for. So now the dummies in the Olympic Committee have not chosen Caitlin Clark, and she's represents Miss America of sports right now. She's helped all of those players they're getting now charter planes and staying at better places. They're going to be able to make more money, all because of this one woman. And they resent her. They knock her down all the time. The refs ignore when it's done. So it's just a shame. Anyway, that's how I'm going to end it this week. And hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to push the subscribe button if you haven't before. All that means is that you will be notified when you're on YouTube that I have a new episode out, a new podcast. So thanks for now. Talk to you next time.